Jeff Iafrate, who is your MVP as of today?
I'm going to be honest, guys. My MVP is not even on this list.
Whoa!
I think it's Ja Morant, I think, to me.
Whoa!
Because honestly, and let's just...
What is going on? I want to welcome you from Half Court for today, Wednesday, March 30th, 2022. I, of course, am your host, Sean Murphy, alongside my guy, Jeff Iafrate. Jeff, how you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing good. We got a good podcast coming today. I know it. I can feel it. You know when you can feel it coming? Like today, I feel
100%. But not only that, I'm also joined by, at 6'3", power forward in Marquette, Michigan. He is the man in the paint, the man who goes insane, the man who looks like David Blaine. It is Troy Sergey. Troy, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Hey, guess where I woke up this morning?
Where did you wake up this morning?
Marquette, Michigan.
Oh, did you? And then you went back to Ohio?
Here. Yeah, back to OH, and yeah, but it was good to see some friends and family this weekend. So,
well, I'm sorry you had to go back to Ohio, but not too much longer. Good thing for your soul. 100%, 100%. And Troy, Jeff, I want you to know the reason why I do that for Troy every single time, because I know it makes him a little uncomfortable and it makes me happy. So that's why I give Troy the over rambunctious introduction, because it's just not Troy at all.
No, I love it. I love it. I don't know what I'd do if you didn't do it. That's the problem.
Yeah, 100%. It's gotta be there at this point. But you know what else has to be there? The From Half Court podcast, because each and every week, the three of us now sit down and talk all things NBA basketball. If you like that, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow all of us on social media. Be sure to also subscribe to Jeff Iafrate's channel as well. Content coming there soon as well. But with that, boys, there's a lot of NBA basketball to dig into, and we got to start with a player that Jeff, Troy, the three of us all said, yeah, we got to talk about this guy. And the player of the week, Jeff, who is it?
It's Marvin Bagley III. I mean, guys,
it's Marvin Bagley III.
And let me just say this: when we traded for this man for a couple potato chips, and that's with all due respect to Josh Jackson. I actually like Josh Jackson, but we stole this man out of Sacramento, and he's been playing well. Over the last 10 games, he's given you 16 and 7. Obviously, those are career high numbers, but still, like the fact is he's found a great role here in Detroit and a great solid building foundation piece for this young core. So I'm excited. It's been great.
Yeah, 100%. Troy, what have you seen from Marvin Bagley in his time in Detroit so far? And what do you think about his game? This has been such a good fit for the Pistons.
Absolutely. I think raw post movability, right down in the key when he gets to the block. That's an area of his game that I think has already developed since his time in Sacramento. He's a guy that truly can contribute on the offensive end as much as the defensive end. But what we're seeing on the offensive end, I think, is just your traditional four, right? I mean, he truly is playing a traditional four right now. And I just think he's an incredible spark to have on this team. And again, a couple potato chips for Marvin Bagley III. We definitely came out on top. And I love right here. I mean, the leaping ability. I mean, that's another thing that's impressive too, is that, a guy like Cade who can facilitate the court, when he's able to throw it up there, Bagley can catch it, right? And I mean, I don't think there's any guy on this team besides Bagley that can catch some of those lobs that Cade throws up there. And what that really does for, a defense becomes a nightmare, right? Of Cade putting it that high, and really there's no defense that can stop it.
Well, it's not even just Cade. It's any guard that's around him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like primarily we see the lobs of Cade. Those are the highlight ones, but like it's all it's Corey, it's Killian, it's Cade, it's whoever's handling the ball at that given time. And it's just it's the other thing too of like, I think having no expectations and just having the freedom to do what he's good at and to just focus on that has really freed him up, especially like he's and when he's making threes for us now, it's like they're good open shots. They're actually like the right basketball play. And you could just tell he's comfortable. He has a good relationship with everybody in the locker room. But like the more I watch Marvin Bagley III play, the more I wonder how in the world a franchise didn't make him work.
Right.
And
know
it's
what I mean?
confidence too. It really is confidence. I think it's mostly confidence because the organization prior, Sacramento, failed to give him that at all. They didn't believe him. Honestly, after they drafted him, he had his rookie season, and after that, you started seeing the belief slowly starts being sucked out of Marvin
It
around
felt like it was
Sacramento.
gone right away once they realized he wasn't Luka.
That's the problem. Your expectations for Marvin Bagley coming out. That's the issue.
And no purpose for playing those games either, right? I mean, they were stuck in no man's land as a franchise. Like there was no purpose for him to even go out and try to compete like a guy like Luka, because of the franchise he was playing for.
Right. And now to be in a situation, like going into the year where Marvin Bagley's dad is like, get this man out of Sacramento. Free us, please. Like anybody will just take us. And Detroit's like, come on over. Let's see let's see what we can do. And especially with the guards that they have or that they had in Sacramento, it's like, to me, it's just a wonder of like, okay, if they really just adjusted how he played, really committed to him, like gave him the minutes and the opportunity to shine, it really could have been something. But you know what? In Detroit going forward, he's going to be a big piece of what we're doing. I think if he keeps playing this way and then he just keeps adding to his game, I think he could see himself being a core piece in Detroit going forward. Like,
and one thing
he has that kind of talent. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, one thing I did want to add too is besides the confidence, he was such a great fit. Like we were missing someone like Marvin Bagley, at least like you said, a traditional four that can come in. He could be a lob threat right away, and you saw that immediately. And he does so many other things, like Troy mentioned. What he brings offensively, like yes, he's not the greatest, at least defender, post defender, but besides that, what we're lacking was what Marvin brought. And I think that confidence with fit, you're seeing it right before your eyes. Like whether I don't know why he didn't get that in Sacramento. They're not a very good basketball team as it is. You could have easily ran your offense through Marvin Bagley and gave him at least the confidence early on. But for whatever reason, man,
the De'Aaron Fox Marvin Bagley connection to me just seems like a no-brainer. But I mean, hey, I guess why have the more athleticism when you can have Domantas Sabonis down in the paint, right? Talk about a lob threat. But
so much impatience, man, with that organization. It really has. Like when the move first got announced, we had this. I think we had this talked about this, Sean. Like, at least Sabonis, he's a great player. You know what you're getting, but was it partially because you're impatient trading away Tyrese Halliburton? Yes. Like it's all impatient. Like you wouldn't. You have a guy in front of you who arguably is more important as of right now. Him and De'Aaron Fox are pretty neck and neck, and then you just trade him away for you can even argue. I mean, I'm not going to call it potato chips, but it's salt and vinegar chips. We'll call it. Something sweet, something sweet. I like what I'm getting in Sabonis, but come on, guys, like he's a finished product. You know what you're getting in Sabonis. Tyrese is just hitting his strides. You guys are.
Well, in addition, I think what you're seeing as well is Sabonis might be one of those guys that thrives in good cultures. And then when he goes to situations like we're already seeing Domantas Sabonis like struggling in Sacramento, and like he's already been adamant, like I'm not sure I'm going to commit to the long term yet. Like there's things he wants to see the organization do before he makes that commitment. And quite frankly, I don't blame him.
Of course. Well, here's the thing about Sabonis. I mean, he truly could be a third option on a contender, right? Absolutely. Why would he waste his time in Sacramento during, I guess, like Jeff said, a finished piece, his prime? Let's call it how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that you didn't even mention either is why would you take a risk? You know what you're getting, and the risks are when you trade for a star. You know it. You get a guy, you don't even know if he's committed or not. Sabonis, I honestly I would give him credit if he walked right out and he's like, you guys aren't going to win. I'm out of here. That's not his fault. That's Sacramento. You traded away a guy you drafted and wanted to be here. The guy cried when he got drafted. Well, a lot of people do cry, but that was, if you're crying because you're leaving Sacramento,
Bro,
come on, guys. There's an issue there. There's an issue there.
But on Detroit's side, I can't help every time I watch Marvin Bagley III play, I cannot help but think about the lineups where we have Cade Cunningham on the floor with Marvin Bagley III and say Chet Holmgren or Jabari Smith Jr. Like that's the thing. Like right now, we're seeing the foundation and the groundwork of what Marvin Bagley can do. But the reality is that Detroit as a whole is not done. We are not a finished product. And so just imagine when he's out there with all-star level Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Marvin Bagley and the Jabari Smith or Jalen or even Jaden Ivey, man. Like there's just a lot of reason to be optimistic, and they love him in Detroit, and he loves it. He loves the city back. So there's just a lot of reason to really look at it. And like one of my guys, Cone on Twitter, 3Cone, be sure to check him out on YouTube as well. He brought up the fact that this might be the steal of the trade deadline, which is saying something because the Tyrese Halliburton trade happened at the deadline. But this truly could be the steal of the deadline.
Yeah,
and
considering what they gave away.
Yeah, exactly. All we gave away was 2 second-round picks that were not ours, and then Trey Lyles, and Josh Jackson.
Wasn't staying here either.
Wasn't staying anyway. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'd see that as an absolute win. You know what I mean? I'm absolutely thrilled about that. So Marvin Bagley definitely was the player of the weekend. He's going to be having a lot more opportunity because Jeremy Grant announced today by beat writers alike and everyone, he will not be playing for the rest of the season due to that calf strain that he suffered over the weekend. So, guys, it's time. We are in the sweepstakes. We're in the final games. Welcome to the Tankathon. Tankathon 2022, brought to you by no sponsor yet, but it could. Guys, as we're on the road to tankdom, what are some names you want to see start for the Pistons down the stretch? I mean, obviously, I know Cade Cunningham will probably start some games. I know Marvin Bagley is probably going to fill in. But damn it, give me some wild ones. Throw me some bones in there.
Yeah, I'll give you the biggest bone of them all, Sean. Luka Garza.
Yes. Give me a 40-minute Luka Garza night, please.
Seriously, though, I mean, we saw hints of that back in December. Remember with the COVID games, and he was putting up, I want to say, at least one double-double against the Spurs.
Yeah, but he was going up against COVID game centers,
right? But still, nonetheless, that's good production. At least build his confidence and whatever. So he's a guy I would love to see down the stretch. But with speaking of the Jeremy Grant thing, I think as far as in our rotation and in our future guys, Marvin Bagley and Saddiq Bey are the two that I am most looking forward to finishing up the season, especially with an injured Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. I was actually going to say, especially, I mean, besides Cade Cunningham solidifying his Rookie of the Year case, so we could talk about Saddiq Bey. I think Saddiq Bey, for me, more consistency is important, but more than that, I think Jeremy Grant. I mean, he could have played his last game in a Pistons uniform. I mean, we don't know.
Right. Yeah, very well could have. That is true.
So that's probably the most interesting piece of this puzzle to see where he falls. But yeah, it's probably Saddiq Bey and Marvin Bagley. I mean, you're getting Marvin Bagley right now, getting the most out of the opportunities he's gotten. I mean, you had Stewart go down for a game or two. Marvin Bagley stepped right up. Now you're having Jeremy Grant out. Guess who's stepping right back up? Marvin Bagley. So he's probably a top of a lot of Pistons fans' lists, no doubt. Marvin Bagley, Saddiq Bey. I mean, you know what you're getting out of Cade Cunningham. We know that. Maybe actually, I'll give you an underrated one. Killian Hayes. I want to see Killian Hayes get more opportunities, but other than that, I'm good.
I'm disappointed. I wanted you to pull some deeper cuts. Where's my Jamarco Pickett hype? Where's my Saban Lee simps in the chat? Give me hype, man.
As much as I like those players, I like Jamarco Pickett. I really do. But, I mean.
Doesn't exactly excite you to tune into an NBA game?
Is Jamarco Pickett a part of the future? I don't know. No. Like, I would love to see Jamarco Pickett out there. He stepped in a couple games ago. He came in, hit a three-pointer, and left. I'm like, all right. I'll take that on Jamarco Pickett.
Yeah, good bits. Good job.
I'll never forget this past summer when someone commented on, I think, the Motor City Cruises, roster, whenever they announced their official roster, and someone was like, can't wait to see what Pickett can produce this season. And someone commented, yeah, me too. Isaiah Livers is my guy, or something like that.
I was going to say Livers, man. And now we didn't even mention him. That's probably the most.
Or no, I'm sorry. Isaiah, I'm excited to see what Isaiah Livers can do too. So yeah, just like he's someone that's not existent. Like no one cares about.
No, yeah, it's Livers. At least right now, you saw the hype around Livers when he stepped in. He was hitting some. He was stroking that thing from downtown. I was like, okay, another second round gem we found. And we got Saban Lee. You got Isaiah Livers. I'll add Livers on that list. He's been playing good. You saw the shootout he did with Isaiah Thomas, right?
Oh yeah, That was
I mean,
great.
come on. He beat Isaiah. I mean, if you don't beat Isaiah Thomas in a shooting competition, I got to give you some credit there. I mean,
Yeah,
I
if
get
he's in a
Isaiah Thomas.
suit.
Yeah, he's in a suit and he's also, 50 years old, but still, Isaiah, that's impressive.
Yeah,
I want to see more livers. That's definitely one of mine as well.
Yeah, 100%. And as the season winds down, we're definitely going to have a lot of time to see a lot of these guys finish these games. But another thing that we're going to be seeing as the season winds down is some key award races being finished up. Now, one is we did a video, Jeff, that will have released as of this recording on Tuesday. You'll want to check that out here as well. Talking about the Rookie of the Year race. It's got to be Cade Cunningham. It really does. I really think it's going to be Evan Mobley. I'm preparing myself mentally because I truly think people are just going to go off of the early season success. There's not a consistent way that people think about each award, and that's what bothers me about this award so much. But guys, what have you thought of the rest of the rookie of the slate of rookies, and what about this award do you think will be the most shameful that it won't be in Cade Cunningham's trophy case?
Right. I'll go first with that. Yeah. I think one rookie, I guess you've talked about a little bit what other rookies have impressed you. Franz Wagner, man. I really gotta say, I've really been impressed with him. Of course, Barnes and Giddey and Mobley and Cunningham. We all know those names. But Franz, man, he's really, I think, impacted that Magic team. And I think they're in definite extreme tank mode. And I think they're even behind us in the rebuilding process. But
way behind us.
Yeah. And I think he's a guy that at least they can hold on to him moving forward with. And I guess at least there's a small little bright crack in the tunnel of Magic fans with him. So
yeah,
you would have to be one.
I'm curious to see what his future is going to be because I think he's a player where his floor and his ceiling is very close together because I don't see Franz Wagner becoming this athletic freak of nature. It's not like he's going to be able to hit his shots at a more consistent rate. He's already hitting them at a pretty great rate. So I'm just curious to see what he's going to be 5 years down the line. He could totally be another guy like Chris Duarte, a guy who's there are guys that just come into the league and it's oh, that's just who they are. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
And I think Wagner could be one of those guys, but if that's what he is, it's a pretty darn good player to have in your franchise.
Exactly.
100%. Jeff, what about you?
In terms of rookie of the year, the only two guys I'm worried about right now, I mean, you have your Josh. We brought up Josh Giddey earlier. I know you just brought up Chris Duarte, and then you just brought up as well Franz Wagner, which is all great mentions, honorable mentions.
Yeah.
But let's look at the facts here. We're competing, at least Cade Cunningham. You're competing with Evan Mobley. You're competing with Scotty Barnes. Right now, my favorite rookie you're watching, this isn't me just being a salty Pistons fan, but I like Scotty Barnes. Evan Mobley's impressive, but Scotty gives me Giannis vibes. He really does. And I know they're built different, but similar in the fact that 6'9", and people forget Giannis was running point guard for a bit. Like this guy has that in him. He's obviously running their offense, helping out, and he's been so impressive. His versatility, like you mentioned earlier, Sean. And I think that would be another guy. Yes, he has better players around him, but in terms of impacting winning, Scotty Barnes is definitely up there for me.
Yeah, it's scary. Scotty Barnes, the way that he plays basketball, it's almost like Magic Johnson type playmaking, like size guard, and then just throw in the Giannis athleticism. So the ceiling for him, it's easy to see why his ceiling is going to be huge because oh my God, he's terrifying. Now, he's going to have to develop a more consistent outside shot. I mean, especially in Toronto, part of it is they're all trying to drive into the lane. They all need to be versatile shooters. That's kind of a big part of their system. And he's hit it at a rate that better than people expected him to do. But it wasn't anything that's gonna be oh, this sets an indicator of where he's at. Right. So
and I think if anybody's shown us that you need a shot, but you don't need, at least look at Giannis. He's developed the shot, but you could still be dominant in the NBA without a shot. I mean, yes, you can get exposed, but you could still be a great player. And I think Scotty's on track to do just that. Same with Evan Mobley. They're all going to be great players.
And I think Scotty's 100%. athleticism to me is the most important thing, I think, to his game moving forward, because he has that kind of freak kind of talent with his athleticism. And especially if he can facilitate the ball a little more too. I'm definitely scared for what the league could look like with Scotty Barnes.
We'll even have like
Ujiri.
Nick Nurse in his corner, and then Asai Ujiri, like seeing like when he knows that it's time to cash in on that roster, like that like he's gonna make a move that like that's gonna immediately put them in contention when it's time. And it's like,
Right.
you know what I mean? But like again, I just think of the moves that Troy Weaver is gonna make, not just this season, but like this like next year beyond. Like, it's just, yeah, man, there's gonna be a lot of crazy things that are gonna happen from that. Even he got me even more curious after our Ashton the Trainer interview, for sure. I'm not gonna lie, for sure.
And I guess your part 2 to the question, Sean, of what infuriates me the most about the rookie of the year race coming up is I think just how quickly Cleveland was able to do their rebuild. Like, it seriously is frustrating of how quick they were able to rebuild with.
It was about 4 or 5 years. It was like I like the one thing they did have was it kind of overnight looked a lot better, but like they pretty much started rebuilding right as LeBron left. Like
they never hit rock bottom, I think is what I'm getting at.
They're damn near rock bottom.
Yeah,
but I get your point. They hit on, obviously they got Sexton, they got Garland, they got Isaac Okoro, and then they just got Evan Mobley. So they kind of built that foundation. I get what you're saying. And once they pieced it all together, they got JB Big. They got a good coach. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You ain't wrong. Hopefully we're on that same projection next 1 to 2 years. We should be right back.
Hey, all I'm saying with we definitely hit rock bottom, but we're rising up pretty quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Detroit's coming up. Another race that has been absolutely let's just say terrifying to watch has been the MVP race. Now, StatMuse did a post showing what the MVP arguments would be for the top 6 candidates. And the crazy thing is that it's like top 6 candidates, and then there's 2 names that are missing where it's like, oh, how are they not on here? So like they have Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Nikola Jokic, Devin Booker, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Luka Doncic. Where's Ja Morant? Where's DeMar DeRozan? Like right off the bat, like those are the guys that are missing off here. But like all of these names make sense. Now, I'm not gonna lie. My current name that sticks out here for me, I'm gonna start. I think Jason Tatum should be the MVP. I think the Boston Celtics at the beginning of the year really hit a low. And there was the team meetings that they had. There was Marcus Smart publicly calling out Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, saying that they need to affect winning. They need to pass more. And there was a real question to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown if that duo in Boston could work. Fast forward to today, and the Boston Celtics are the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They have the best record in the East, best point differential in the East. They are the number 1 defense in the league. He leads the league in total points, leads the league in plus minus, and he's averaging 27 and 8. And like all the 50-point games he's had, how young he is, he's getting it done on both ends of the floor, but also just the maturity and the story of the arc of the season that Jason Tatum has had. In my opinion, we're watching Jason Tatum go from an all-star to a superstar. I think you could make a legitimate argument that Jason Tatum is a top 5 player in the world. I'm serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think he deserves the MVP trophy because of what Boston was and how he got them out of that situation. So, Jeff, you went last time. I want you to go next. You're looking at all these cases we have right here. Jeff Iafrate, who is your MVP as of today?
I'm going to be honest, guys. My MVP is not even on this list.
Whoa!
I think it's Ja Morant, I think, to me.
Whoa!
Because honestly, and let's just look at it like this. In a vacuum, all right? Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, their biggest arguments is what? The team around them, right? Okay. So Ja Morant, and I get Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane. They got pieces, great pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Steven Adams, another one, honorable mention. No, at least right now, for Ja Morant to have the 2nd seed in the West only behind the Phoenix Suns, who clearly are the best team in the entire league right now. And what they're doing without Chris Paul, I think Devin Booker deserves some love. But the Eastern Conference is much more closer. And I get the Jason Tatum argument. I mean, Giannis, you kind of can make a case for him. But John Morant has more wins than all of them with arguably a worse team. So listen, the guy's a freak. He's a highlight reel. I mean, I get all that. But in terms of impact on the floor, I've been Nikola Jokic for the longest time, but I just can't give an MVP, obviously, to a 6 seed. This isn't Russell Westbrook, guys. Like, Russell Westbrook had the triple-double season. You had to give him the award. But this season, wins matter. And for Memphis, nobody expected them to be where they are. That's the biggest thing. And John Morant's a big reason for that. So give me John Morant as my MVP.
John Morant has really established himself as a Allen Iverson-esque player. And the fact that he got to a point where Allen Iverson himself is making the comparison, that's when you know. And you know, it's just it's hard for me to disagree with that, man, because
I think he leads the entire league. I don't know if this is exactly right, but he leads the entire league in paint score in the or points scored in the paint. So I get he's obviously more of an interior scorer, but like that's the guy's getting buckets. Like no one can doubt that. So and I wouldn't have a problem. Obviously, no one's in the front, head of this race. But John Morant, man, you can't look at him and overlook. I get it's Memphis, but I kind of feel that in a way because Detroit is always overlooked, and you got to look at it like that as well. Like Memphis, why is nobody talking about John Morant? Why the hell is he not in this argument? He's played in every game this season.
Right.
Get out of here.
Well, that's not true.
Most games this season. Sorry, he's missed about 10
I was going to say he had a
games.
few scary injuries, or I remember going.
He had the knee injury. It tweaked him out. It tweaked his knee. But besides that, I mean, if you want to discount him for missing a couple games, go ahead. But John Morant for a long time, he's kind of been like third, fourth on my list. I can't. I really can't. I can't lean to Nikola Jokic right now. I'm sticking it to John Morant.
I really can't blame you. And Troy, who is your MVP as of today?
Just want to say I strongly respect Jeff's argument for Morant. I've been high on him all of our podcasts, Sean. So he's definitely one that I think should definitely be in this conversation too. And, I'm a high guy on Embiid as well, but I am not going to pick him today. I will quote my boy Vince Lombardi on this one. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. When I look at these 6 guys, there's only one that is a hungry champion on that list, and that is Giannis Antetokounmpo. 30, 12, and 6 on 55% shooting, guys. The fact that he is top 3 in defensive argument, too, for Defensive Player of the Year. The fact that he is a guy that is looking almost better than this season, after what we saw him do last season. We cannot forget about Giannis. When you think of most valuable player, a guy that truly is most valuable, impacts his team, I love every guy on this list. This league is so deep this year, deeper than any year I can remember, but it's got to go to Giannis, guys.
Well, if you're going off of this list and just looking at each player, if you were to take them off of their roster, which team would be the worst?
Oh, the Mavericks. No question.
Boston could too, though.
The Nuggets without MPJ or Murray are
at
terrible.
Least they got, I mean, listen, Aaron Gordon is not the best, but Luka off the Mavericks, you got Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah,
that's your number one option right there.
Yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie in Dallas is GOAT mode. He's like Steve Nash reincarnated.
He's been hitting game winners. I get all that, and Nikola Jokic actually
he's been significantly better statistically too. Like he's been like an entirely different player in Dallas than Washington. Turns out another dog franchise. Who would have thought? But I don't blame man. But like it's like and then I go, but Jokic, because he's insane. He might be one of the best big men we've ever seen in this game. Joel Embiid, it's weird. Ever since James Harden went to Philly, it seems like Philly's momentum has died down.
Unfortunately.
Like it hasn't been as smooth as everyone thought it was. And I think next year is really gonna have to be their goal for winning a championship. I don't think the Philly's gonna get it done this year.
And I think if a race is this close, and this is why I had to show some love to my guy Ja. Like this is the problem. you have to look at games played, and that's a big thing. Like, you got to have the most healthy guy if you're looking at all these guys, and it does disqualify a couple guys, especially John Morant. But Nikola Jokic, like, to your point, he's been the most consistent all year. Like, for a team that lost, like it says out right there on the stat, didn't have Murray, didn't have Michael Porter Jr. Like, you can realistically make a case for Giannis as well. If you're talking about both sides of the basketball, that's the most valuable. So he could win it. Like, it's tough. Like, honestly, that's why I was on Jokic all year. I really want something new. I think Ja would bring that excitement to the MVP award. Someone new. You got Ja Morant, but yeah, Giannis and Nikola to me right now, like, besides Ja, obviously my personal favorite. Those guys, either one. I'm not on the Joel Embiid train. I never was. As soon as they traded for James Harden, I knew at least his MVP odds. How do you argue a guy for like Joel Embiid when you have a guy like James Harden playing and he's so valuable to that what they do offensively in terms of his playmaking? Like, you're just going to discount James Harden? Like, no. So, yeah, Nikola Jokic or Giannis, if I had to bet money, those two guys I'm going with. No doubt. It's going to be one of the two former MVPs. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And it's crazy because Devin Booker, it's almost been like this week we've all been like, oh, yeah, he probably should be in the conversation for MVP because people, it's like he's been a guy that's been doing what he's been doing consistently for years. And people didn't really start paying attention until they started winning. But obviously people are like, oh, well, yes, Chris Paul. So it's got to be because of Chris Paul. Well, no, like Devin Booker's a winner in this league now. Like the switch has flipped.
Right.
That team is different. They I saw something crazy that they're undefeated when they're leading going into the fourth quarter this season. Like,
they're my pick to win it.
Oh, they are my pick to win it. Absolutely. Phoenix is getting retribution this year. But you know, we got to talk at some point about Devin Booker being MVP eventually, because I mean, look at this. I mean, a guy who's it's his 10th 25-5-5. It's only the 10th 25-5-5 season with an 800 record ever. And 8 of the previous 9 won MVP.
And you know what's ridiculous also about one of the statistics they have written down is that 28-5-7 on 50-40-90 without CP. So you're telling me when Chris Paul's not in the game and all the defensive attention goes to Devin Booker, he gets better? Like, it doesn't make no sense to me. That's why everybody needs to start giving him some flowers.
And like, to be as like gutsy of a scorer he is and how efficient he is, to be a 50-40-90 guy without Chris Paul, that's nuts.
And speaking of Chris Paul, he's back.
He's back.
And I think, again, I don't think he's going to really need a lot of time of getting back in the swing of things. I think he's ready to play. And not only is he ready to play, but I think he's ready to compete for a championship.
You guys know a report I saw right before I hopped on this?
What is that?
There are reports saying that Paul George could return as soon as tomorrow. As of recording, he could have made his return. Paul George might be returning to the lineup. And not just Paul George. There's rumors that Kawhi Leonard is working too. Wow. Imagine if the Los Angeles Clippers at
playoff
the 11th hour bring back Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, healthy, fresh, ready to go for a playoff run. What if the Los Angeles Clippers have been playing the long game this whole time and go out and win a championship?
It would almost feel like a punch in the face for us who have been analyzing the game all season long, making bold predictions.
What about to the guys? What about to the teams that were playing all year, and then they just get smacked in the mouth they come back and the Clippers
in the mouth,
by the Clippers? Like, what the hell, man? I don't think something in my heart tells me that are they really going to rush Kawhi Leonard back on a season like this? Like, are they going to force him to play with any?
If you
injury?
Could get a championship.
Of course.
I don't think. Listen,
yeah, of course. If you can get a championship, yes.
I don't think that roster, I'm going to be honest with you, if they come back, you're going to rush them. We're about to start the postseason. And now we're all of a sudden, everything's going to just stick together and everyone's just going to start playing great basketball.
Hey, listen, any other roster, I would say I absolutely agree with you. However, it's Kawhi Leonard.
But you also got playoff P.
I mean, playoff P last year, that's bullshit. Last year, Paul George was awesome.
Yeah, he was. The year prior really is where the nickname stood.
Like, that one playoff run where all the pressure was on him when they got to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in franchise history, Jeff.
Yeah,
come on.
That's the same guy. So you know what? No, I'm joking. No, I like Paul George a lot. I just like giving him crap. Ever since that name came out, I thought it was the most hilarious thing ever, giving him playoff P. I think they're a dangerous team, no doubt. You can get 2 wing guys like that immediately. I mean, who else in the West? Obviously, we talk about Phoenix, but besides them, I mean, we mentioned Memphis, but they can beat Memphis. So it's like they're still a contender, no doubt about it.
Yeah, 100%. And Memphis would be the youngest team in the history of the league to make it to the NBA Finals. They don't have a player over 28 years old.
Wow.
That is
Youth.
crazy.
Youth.
So this playoff is just getting started. We're about 2.5 weeks away. We're gonna definitely do a playoff bracket challenge group on NBA.com. So be on the lookout for that. That's something. Jeff, have you ever done those brackets? Those are my jam.
Yeah,
those are
a lot of fun.
Screw March Madness. This is my bracket.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Way more predictable, at least, because then you can kind of get an idea. March Madness, man. St. Peter's. Suck my ass.
It's literally just a luck game at that point. Whereas this, it's like, it's like, all right, will Utah win in 5 or will they win in 6? That's the real genius game right there.
But I would argue this year, guys, there's going to be some upsets.
It's tough this year, especially I think in the East too. Like the East is going to be ridiculous. Like it really is.
So how about we do a check-in? How about let's look at the standings as of right now. Like if the season were to end today, let's look at where we're at. Okay, so let me pull it up right here. So if the season were to end today, currently the top of the standings, we would have Phoenix and Boston both at the top of their conferences. But also, there we go. We would have Memphis would be the 2nd seed. And then in the play-in, we would have Cleveland versus Charlotte. We would have Brooklyn versus Atlanta. Brooklyn is currently that 9th seed. And then the Lakers blew that 20-plus point lead to the New Orleans Pelicans last night. And that's the other story that we have to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about how we weren't going to bring up LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers for the rest of this season because they weren't worth talking about. However, it got a little more interesting. And I would be remiss if I didn't at least temporarily lift the ban. Because, guys, it's not just the fact that they blew another lead. They've done that all year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the Lakers' way. But it's also the fact that LeBron James injures his ankle again. And guys, I don't know if you've seen the Lakers' schedule going down the stretch.
Oh, it's brutal.
It is beyond brutal. And the Spurs are right on their ankles.
Wow.
And the Los Angeles Lakers, for the rest of the season, here's their schedule. And mind you, we don't know how many of these games LeBron will play. At Dallas, at Utah, at home versus New Orleans, at home versus Denver, at Phoenix, at Golden State, at home versus Oklahoma City, at Denver. Like, it is the top of the top, and maybe one game you're supposed to win, the Thunder game.
And maybe you only walk away with 2 or 3 of those wins. Like, seriously.
Yeah. Even with LeBron on the court.
Right.
Yeah, and you would hope that they would try and really get that win against the Pelicans, but shit, they were supposed to the other night.
And that's the problem. Like right now with LeBron, and that's you saw it all season, the workload increase, and obviously that's where injuries start to pop out. Like LeBron's giving you 38 and 6 in his effing 19th season. Like
Mhm.
he's doing things that are unprecedented, and with that, yes, it's impressive, but they haven't been winning games, and that's kind of the issue. The Lakers have been very underwhelming this season. I mean, you can blame Russell Westbrook, you can blame whoever you want, Frank Vogel. I don't give a damn. But when you're watching the Lakers, it is depressing. I mean, they got snails out there on the perimeter playing defense. Like nobody can stay with their guy. It doesn't even matter. You can look at LeBron all you want, not playing the other side of the ball. He's stat pattern. He really is. I like LeBron a whole lot, but at this point, you're like, dude, just go out and have a career year, and he's doing just that. Like the Lakers,
Mhm.
I haven't even. There's a reason why no one's really been talking about him unless LeBron had the 60-point night. Like really, no one's talking about the Lakers.
Right.
It's sad to say. I mean, considering
Yeah.
where they were years ago, but it is what it is.
Mhm. Yeah, I would argue that we're just seeing the continuation of the dysfunction of the Lakers franchise. It's like
Yeah,
the
injuries.
the greatness of the Lakers can bring them at least a championship every decade plus. However, like it's injuries, but also the construction of that roster was just asking for injuries. Like, like
Yeah.
just the foundation of building upon Anthony Davis is a literal prayer that he's going to make it to the offseason healthy or that he's going to make it to the postseason healthy. And, it's tough because injuries, they can just end your season just like that. I mean, another situation we're seeing, the Boston Celtics, they're the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They got to be feeling great. And then they hear that Robert Williams III suffers a meniscus tear and he's going to be out for several weeks at the minimum. And they're not wanting to rule him out for the rest of the year. I'll go ahead and do it for him. Robert Williams is out rest of the year. You heard it here first. Woj bomb. Boom.
Sean,
But we'll see him in the playoffs, right, Sean?
We're not going to see him in the playoffs. No, because because for one, that's their defensive anchor. Like in the interior, outside of Robert Williams III, they are weak on the interior. Like they're not bad. They are weak. They had Enes Freedom. I mean, he's gone. I mean, you know how good he was that they didn't even keep him on the roster.
Yeah.
But if a meniscus tear is no joke. And so it's really just going to depend on when he can heal from it. But guys, I don't see it. I don't see a scenario. I mean, the only thing, like, thank goodness they got Daniel Tice back. They have Al Horford again, but like outside of that, I mean, you would hope he would be ready to go by like the second round or the conference finals. But like, are you going to make it that far without him?
Yeah, especially if you're going against guys like Embiid, not to mention Giannis. So, I mean, you got Bam Adebayo. Like, you can go down the whole list. So, interior defense is definitely going to be important for them. And you mentioned it. Al Horford, Daniel Tice. What do those guys bring, or don't bring, rather, that Robert Williams brings? It's that
your interior defense is Daniel Tice and Al Horford in 2022. You're straight. Like, holy, like, God. Like, geez,
Sean,
man.
you might have a higher vertical than both those guys. Like at this point,
dude,
in their career,
with my chalked knee, the sad part is you might be right. That's sad. They oh my gosh, watching Al Horford jump, Jesus Christ.
But I guess we have an opportunity to see what Tatum's really made of, right?
I mean, we do, but like, yeah, I mean, he's Superman, but he's going up against a ton of other Supermen. Like he's going up, like the Brooklyn Nets are back, y'all.
Yeah,
they're back. They've won 7. They're 7-2 in their last 9. Kyrie Irving made his return. Yeah. Obviously, even though they lost to the Charlotte Hornets, it just seems like the Hornets they always come out and play shots. They play their best basketball against the top talent of the league. But listen, we're about to see Kyrie Irving play in Detroit, and that will already have happened when this episode's out. I think he could drop a 40 bomb against Detroit at home. Like this, like I think he wants a 40 bomb in Brooklyn. And this could be a candidate where Kyrie Irving could have a crazy game scoring wise.
Yeah, especially coming off a game like he had against Charlotte where they couldn't shoot the ball. They're both due for a game, man.
Oh, 100%.
And of course, to our sweet luck, it's against the Pistons. Help us out in the lottery. And kids, man, Killian Hayes, I want to see that matchup. Killian Hayes on Kyrie Irving. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. 100%.
We might see a little Stanley Johnson on LeBron in 2016 come to life again, right?
Absolutely.
I still am not used to the fact that those guys are teammates. I'm in denial on it, and I always will be.
If the
But
Lakers are that bought in on Stanley Johnson, you know you got issues. Like they're like, all right, please, Stanley Johnson. He's their best perimeter defender. You're our no, dude. That's why
facts.
31 other teams didn't want him. 29 other teams. They'll
That
pass.
is facts. Now, before we get into before we take a journey to from Mount Rushmore, I would be remiss if we didn't take a pit stop looking at the NCAA men's bracket, because we do have the Final Four coming up this weekend. Not just any Final Four, by the way. It is Coach K's final weekend coaching basketball. But in addition, it will be the first time in the history of the NCAA tournament that we will see Duke and North Carolina face off. What better way to end Coach K's saga and rivalry with North Carolina than in the Final Four?
Especially, Sean, after UNC ruined Coach K's last home game of the season.
There you go.
Not too long ago. So,
yeah,
this is what they literally only could have dreamed of.
It is. You couldn't write this.
No, and I want to mention this too. Like everyone forgets he beat Arkansas, back in the 90s when he won one of his first national titles. Now he's facing UNC. It's like almost a trip down memory lane before he reaches national. It's like it's honestly like it couldn't have been written better. Like, it's not a root for Coach K at this point. Like, do I want to see Paulo Banchero for longer? Yes, selfishly.
Yeah.
But also, I want to see Coach K go out there and win another one. That'd be great.
Yeah, 100%. All right, real quick, who do you guys have winning the Final Four this weekend? Who's going to be the national champion of the NCAA?
You go first, Troy.
Nova.
I like that. I was gonna do Nova and Duke squaring off. I'll take Duke. I already kind of alluded to it last. I'll just go just because of the storyline. It'd be great.
Yeah.
But Jay Wright, if he got a third one, got to talk about him more often. People underrate him.
I think it will be Duke and Nova. I think it will be the old guard versus the new guard. But I think Paulo Banchero will rule the weekend, and I think Duke will ultimately finish Coach K's career with a national championship banner.
Remember when Jarrett Culver came out and he won the national title, and then he went in the draft, and now you don't really know what he's doing now. He's on the Minnesota Timberwolves or wherever he's at. And now do you think Paulo winning the national title will just like boost, obviously, his draft stock just through the roof? Not that that's a bad thing. It could happen very well.
It's kind of like I was listening to the one of my favorite podcasts, The Mismatch with Kevin O'Connor. And it's kind of the thing of like, man, it's awesome to see Paulo come alive in the tournament. Well, like, where was this all year?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, and like, don't get me wrong, I get it. It's college, Coach K, it's a hard system. You're growing. You're probably becoming more confident as the season goes on, all that kind of stuff. That can't fly in the NBA. I mean, we're seeing it right now in Miami with the situation with the Heat. That type of taking games off mentality. That's why I get real Michael Beasley vibes from Paulo Banchero. And I don't mean that he's going to have the career of Michael Beasley, but he has the very similar type of situation coming out of college to me, where it's like
people forget about Michael Beasley coming out of college. Like he was
coming out of college, he was supposed to be a star. Like him and Derrick Rose are supposed to be like, it was like you really couldn't go wrong picking either one. It was supposed to be the two future stars of the league. It was how that draft was booked. And then
Kansas State Wildcat.
But like the thing is that it was the character issues. It was the thing off the court. It wasn't being focused every single day. Like those are the things that could be in Paulo's way. And I'm not making any assumptions that that's who he is or that's what's going to happen. But like he has that kind of ceiling, and he has that type of floor and ceiling type of thing to me. So I really just want to see. I want to see him be. I really just want to see him be this all the time. That's really all I want.
And if he's this all the time, I think he has a pretty high ceiling.
Yeah.
But if he's not, I think your Beasley comparison could be accurate. Could be.
Yeah. And again, I'm talking as far as like the way they like to play, the style of basketball, but also just with the talent ceiling that they have. Like I'm comparing him to the prospect Michael Beasley, not the current Michael Beasley who's in the big three and is probably on mad amounts of drugs. But all respect to Michael Beasley, # draft the cocaine. Anyway, on that note, Troy, it is time to take a journey from one mountain, the cocaine mountain, to Mount Rushmore in Troy.
I like this mountain.
It is a good mountain. It is a great mountain. This one doesn't have illegal things on it.
Right.
It's nice, yeah. And then we always get to talk hoops on this one. And Troy, you have something fun planned for us this week. What are we
Yeah, I
talking
do.
about today?
And I'll tell you a little bit background of how I came to it. Well, we talked a little bit about, March Madness, unranked teams making it. And a lot of those guys on unranked teams are, unranked players going out of high school into the college stage. And we kind of see something a little similar when it comes to the NBA of undrafted players coming to the league and making tremendous impact. The second round is deep these days. And maybe one day in the future we can do a Mount Rushmore of second round picks. But today we're going to do a Mount Rushmore of undrafted NBA players. What players? Well, who is the best undrafted players of all time who have played in the NBA? That is what we're trying to figure out today. So, would anyone like to go first for their number one?
Hi, I'll go first.
Go ahead, Mr. Murphy.
I'm going to go on a limb on this one. I'm going to go with the only undrafted player to ever make the Hall of Fame.
I was okay. You took the one right
Wallace. It is Ben Wallace. There is no Mount Rushmore of undrafted players where he's not the pinnacle of it, being the first and only undrafted player to be in the Hall of Fame, multiple time Defensive Player of the Year award winner, paint dominant presence, just everything that you would want in an NBA player, everything that you would look for out of an undrafted player, and a guy that broke the mold and really set up an incredible career for himself. He's got to be on that list.
And can I give some love to Van Fleet? My man Van Fleet, undrafted.
Ooh, Fred Van Fleet.
He's going to be mine. He's going to be mine too. Jeff.
All right, good. Another guy that's undrafted needs some recognition. I love his story, man, and what he's doing in Toronto. Just with the guy he does look like Drake. Let's get that out the way. He does look like Drake, but at the same time, for his size and what he's able to do, he's balling, man. He deserved that big contract he got. So I got to go Fred Van Fleet. Ben Wallace was my first one, but
yeah,
got to shout out Van Fleet.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go next. I'm going to take a trip to champion lane, and that's going to be Bruce Bowen of the San Antonio Spurs. The guy just had tremendous impact on those teams. And, when you can bring in a guy who's undrafted, and obviously a Ben Wallace and a Fred Van Fleet, so all three of the guys we've brought up so far are champions, right? And for all of those teams to bring in a guy like them, Ben Wallace, Fred Van Vliet, Bruce Bowen, and impact their team for a championship title, that's like literally the biggest dream come true. That to me, I would argue, has greater impact than your first round pick working out, right? Because this is a guy that you put no investment in, but turns out to impact your team for a championship. There's no story like it. So Bruce Bowen, yes, on the offensive end and defensive end, was able to be a great role player on those Spurs teams back in the day.
Well, you say there's no story like it, and I say, to hell with that. I'm going to the other side of championship lane for this mountain, and I'm bringing Udonis Haslem to the fold.
Yeah,
Udonis Haslem, another undrafted player, all rookie second team, 2004, still a player that is active in the NBA, even if he doesn't play. He is still dressing for the Miami Heat, and he is Mr. Heat culture. He should have a statue outside of the Miami Heat stadium or practice facility at some point, because he is like a pillar of the Miami Heat. He's a guy that, even if at the peak of his playing days, even if he was never like this great player, he is still one of the most respected NBA veterans of all time. And so this guy taking a roster spot every single year on the Miami Heat, he does so for a reason. And it's because he's a cornerstone of what they're doing at all times. He is the Miami Heat.
Yeah. And to your point, not just a guy who's been in the league since 2003, but a guy who has been on the same team since 2003.
You don't see that.
I was in kindergarten in 2003, it's incredible that he's been on this team for so long. Like every season of that team's roster, Dwayne Wade, the LeBron James, the Jimmy Butler, he was there for it. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Back to the Shaq days too.
Shaq,
Oh, baby.
yeah.
Was there for all of them. And can I get an honorable mention? Can we throw JJ Barea in there?
Yeah,
JJ Barea,
yeah.
2011 champ. Listen, for his size, he's about the same. I mean, I'm 6 foot. He's 5'10", but still 180 soaking wet. Now he's a champion. Obviously, you talk about role player. That's the reason why these guys are able to play such long careers. They accept their role and they play the role to the greatest of their ability. And JJ Barea did just that. So shout out to JJ Barea, undrafted.
Can I throw in one more honorable mention?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah,
Jeremy Lin.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Definitely.
Ashton. Hey, shout out to Ashton. Shout out to Ashton.
Oh,
yeah.
100%
Shout out to Ashton.
Yeah, man. It's gotta be. He's just you know, the Lin Sanity era was one that, you know, we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast. It was a memorable week and a half, man. It's just, you know, it was incredible. Also,
it was a great week and a half.
It was a great week and a half. That's really what it was. It was an awesome week and a half. But I mean, he had a career beyond that, but still. Also, apparently, at the buzzer here from Half Court, apparently, it looks like Evan Mobley might have just gotten injured, and so I am looking more into that as we speak. But it's looking like the Cleveland Cavaliers season could be in question, as Evan Mobley has apparently gone down with an injury. Apparently, it's a sprained left ankle. So, fingers crossed, thoughts and prayers. But guys, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they can't catch a break.
No, they really can't. They really can't.
At the worst possible time, dude.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right before the postseason, right before the guy who clearly, I mean, you talked about it, Sean. I wouldn't be surprised if he won Rookie of the Year. Like, what a time to lose, at least lose a guy like that. It's
big time.
I'm not going to sit here and crap on Evan Mobley as much as we love it. Cade Cunningham, he's still a tremendous player. You pray for his health and all that stuff. But again, like, it is what it is. That's the name of the game. I mean, injuries happen at the worst times.
Yeah. Well, that injury might not have happened at the best time, but there might not be a better time to subscribe to the From Half Court podcast and YouTube channel, because each and every week we are taking over the mother NBA game.
Yes,
with
sir.
This NBA podcast, NBA content, everything happened on this channel. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, rate us on whichever podcast service that you like, you weirdo. And also be sure to tell your friends and join in the conversation down below in the comments, as well as on Twitter. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you to Jeff and to my guy, Troy. And we will catch you next time from Half Court. Be sure to subscribe.